What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Eagles on the Air, the Salesian High School podcast coming to you straight from our broadcast studio. I have a great guest with us today. I'm excited to get into it with him. My guest is a member of the class of 2005 and the current chairman of the Board of Trustees for Salesian High School, Mr. Steve Bruno. Steve, my man, how's everything going?
Very well. Thanks for having me.
I'm pumped to have you, man, because I was writing some notes ahead of time. I said we got some great stuff to talk about. It's going to be, I think, a great episode, so I hope everybody enjoys. So if you've been watching at home, if you're watching right now, I've asked all of our guests so far one particular question to start off the show. I'm going to do the same thing with you, and I'm just going to simply ask you, what is your Salesian story? How did you come to be choose Salesian years ago, and what has your journey been like?
Sure. So my story began, in grammar school. I grew up in the Bronx, went to New York City public school for, through 8th grade. So it was going to be something different, knowing that I was going to ultimately end up in a Catholic high school. It was really between Mount St. Michael, where my dad went, or Salesian High, when the time came to make that decision. Really, the campus was really kind of what took me over as a kid, coming here as an 8th grader. Again, my father went to Mount, so I was familiar with that campus as well. I really didn't have much background on Salesian other than coming as a camper to Camp Echo Bay for 1 year when I was maybe 2nd or 3rd grade. And it was going to be something that was, like I said, very different. When I started my freshman year, coming all the way up from the Bronx, coming from, a co-ed public school environment to an all-boys environment where you're wearing a uniform, let's say it was a challenge, but it was different, and this just took some getting used to. My second day of high school was unfortunately 9/11, and so that was, one of the things that obviously shook all of us as a school community, and it's definitely something that stood with our class as freshmen, knowing that, what was going to happen in the years to come. After freshman year, kind of getting assimilated, sophomore year, always was still kind of looking to find my way. I really didn't have, I really wasn't sure what path I was ultimately meant to take. And then junior year really hit, and there was a lot that happened junior year, playing on the baseball team, as well as getting involved with youth ministry and student council, going on some of the leadership retreats. I think I really found my own as a student at that point in time. And then obviously once we got to senior year, it was, was able to take on more of a leadership role throughout the school. And I attribute my time at Salesian to really being able to create the foundation of who I ultimately want to be as a person, and something that I carry through to this day. It was something that the brotherhood that I experienced here was something that some of my best friends are still some of my classmates, as well as other alums that I've met along the way, both older and younger than me, that I've connected with, that have that common bond. I think is really something I'm very thankful for.
Now, that's great to hear because I was familiar with your run as a student here. Not that I had started working here in 2006, so you had graduated by then, making me feel kind of old right now. But I was familiar with your journey, knew some kids that you played baseball with, or some men now. But one thing you just said just got me thinking a little bit, that you came from the New York City public school. So what public school did you come from?
So I went K through 6 at the PS 71 in the Bronx, and then I went to IS 192. I'm not sure what it is now, but it was that was for 7th and 8th grade.
Okay, because what I'm thinking of is, for years, probably since Salesian has been around, 1920, Salesian has always drawn a ton of kids from the Bronx. Always. We always have, we currently do, and something we look forward to. But the other thing is, especially with the shift and obviously rising costs, so many of our students now are coming from public schools. I think we have 35% of our student body comes from public schools. So maybe tell everybody that that transition from a public school to a Catholic school, what was that like? Was there anything unique about that?
I took CCD. Obviously, we're going to public school, so I think from a faith-based perspective, it was not an issue. I was actually able to deepen my faith as a student here because it was more present on a daily basis. So I definitely felt that was something that was a positive. But otherwise, no. I think it was really more of a general assimilation that you would normally expect going from 8th grade to high school. There wasn't this shock of, okay, I'm going to an all boys school. I mean, it was different, but I almost view it as it provided me opportunities to try new things and to develop as a young man that I might not have had opportunities if I went to New York City public high school or maybe another co-ed high school, another co-ed Catholic high school. Being able to develop leadership qualities, try new things, and do so in a safe environment that I knew I was supported by the administration and the teachers here, that was something that I'm very grateful for.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that too, because I do a ton of recruiting. As the admissions director, I'm at a ton of 8th grades. I'm in classrooms. I'm speaking in auditoriums. Whoever's willing to invite me to their school, I accept. I go and speak all over the place. And I either speak to students or parents, sometimes both at the same time. And some of them coming from the public school system are a little weary about joining a Catholic school. And I'm so glad you said what you did, because that's what I tell them. I tell them, if you come to Salesian High School, you will be afforded opportunities you will not get anywhere else. If you come to Salesian High School, no matter what, I can guarantee you, you will be in a safe, caring environment. That's exactly all the stuff you just said without any kind of, I didn't push those answers at all.
Not at all.
All right, so the truth is out. It is what it is, and it's great to hear. And it's, I tell everybody, when I go out recruiting, I don't lie. You're getting the truth from me. So it's great to hear someone who graduated almost 20 years ago. Yeah, coming in on 20 years.
Coming in on 20 years.
Someone who graduated almost 20 years ago. Say that right there. So let's walk it back a little bit. You won a city championship. Your baseball team won a city championship in 2004. You know I'm a huge sports guy. Let's hear it. Any games stick out? What was that run like? Any of your old teammates stick out? You don't know who's watching this right now. Someone might love to hear their name.
Yeah, no, it was a great experience. I played with a lot of great players. I was fortunate to be on the bus for that ride to the championship. We had a lot of great players on our team. A couple of classmates come to mind. Eric Abrams, obviously, and Tim Valerio was on that team as well. He was a good friend. So, Coach Macias was also, he was leading the ship. He showed us the ring in training camp that year that he won back in the day. And I think there was a lot of hunger throughout the room about going after that championship. And he told us, he's like, listen, you could get a ring too. So we'll do that. And to this day, I have a ring. I don't have it on me, but very grateful for that opportunity. We ended up taking a trip up to Toronto that year, actually, to the Sky Dome, and we played a game up there through one of Coach Macias' connections, and that's a memory I'll never forget. We went 16-0 that year, and our championship game was held at St. John's University, and I ultimately ended up going to St. John's for college, so it was kind of a precursor to that. But it was great. Got to play with a lot of great guys. The camaraderie, the bonds, I think, that were formed, and the it's something that I'll never forget.
Yeah, and so many people, both some guests we've had on the show already, the kids in the school, young alumni, everybody comes back here and talks about this tremendous brotherhood that they feel when they come to Salesian. And I encouraged everybody, and we still have a great number of kids that participate in extracurricular activities, be it a sport, a club, student council, anything. And that's where that is built. That's why I firmly believe in class, it's great walking around the halls and hanging out with your friends for that 2 or 3 minutes in between periods. But it's really outside the classroom that those bonds of brotherhood are really, really strengthened. And so that's why we encourage all of our kids to get involved in something. And they do. They really do. They participate. They're active. The kids are the life of the school.
Absolutely.
So, all right, let's move on now, because you accepted a role some years back as a member of the Board of Trustees. How did that come to be? Because when I heard Steve Bruno, I was like, Steve, young guy, you think Board of Trustees, I'm thinking like older men, older women. And so I saw this nice young guy, just a few years apart from me. I had your younger brother, Matt, in school. So I was like, Steve? I said, oh, great. And I knew you very obviously highly intelligent guy. I said, it's going to be a great addition, but tell me how that came to be.
Yeah, a lot of gratitude I think I owe to all those that I work with on the board and have worked with, previously. I started kind of getting involved with the school. I always made it a point to stay in touch, whether it was through, Chris Beal or Artie Schoner or any of the other teachers or the administrators that I was close to. And we always had that relationship where I would, try to come back for, the golf outing or the president's dinner or whatever the case is. And so I started getting involved with St. Philip the Apostle Foundation on that board probably around the spring of 2019 or so, which provides scholarships and, financial aid support through grants to many of the Salesian works, Salesian High School being one of them. And being around more, the Salesians again, a little bit more, it kind of led to, being asked to join the advisory board at the time of Salesian High School, and was working with that board for a bit right into COVID. And that's when, a lot of challenges were ultimately faced on that board. And I learned a lot from a lot of great people. I mean, ultimately the goal was to always transition from an advisory board to a governing board. That happened really in 2022. So, we still worked as an advisory board throughout, and, John Rapisardi, who was class of 75, he was the chair of the advisory board. He came to me probably late 2021 and asked if I'd be interested in chairing this brand new board, and I kind of looked at him like he had five heads. And John, if you're watching, thank you again. But I do owe a lot to John and his leadership over the course of the years, and as well as Father Tim Zach, who was the provincial at the time, and Father Jim Huser, Father John Serio, for the belief in me, again being a young guy, never doing this before, that could lead a brand new board. It's something that I'm very humbled by. And I'm very grateful for all the other trustees that are currently on the board. By no means am I the smartest guy in the room. I'm going to be the first to admit that. But a wise man once said, always surround yourself with others that are smarter than you. And that's something that I've tried to do as board chair. Something that we've tried to do collectively is find the right individuals with the appropriate skill sets in order to steer Salesian High School into the decades to come.
I'm glad you brought up John's name. I've known him a long time, and John Rapisardi, class of 1975, he was the board president, has been a great supporter of Salesian High School, and truly loves Salesian High School and everything Don Bosco. So I believe my personal opinion, he hit the nail on the head in tabbing you. So let's get. I appreciate all that too. It's helpful to see like how it came to be. Like, how'd you pick a at the time a 30-something-year-old guy? Is a nice young guy. So
I thought he was out of his mind, to be honest with you.
Well, he hit the nail on the head.
And no, I think that it goes to show that, listen, I think obviously there's always a little hesitation in kind of accepting something that you might not have done before. That it's the first time you're doing. I think it's something that I've always lived by, is that I've learned here as a student, is to challenge yourself and to step outside the box. And, cliche of get comfortable being uncomfortable. And the foundation ultimately that I learned here as a student is something that I try to carry into my role as board chair, as well as my professional life, as well as my family life. And listen, we all have our moments. Nobody's perfect. But ultimately, I'd like to think when big decisions need to be made, that the foundation that I built here will help in making those decisions.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's another great thing to hear. Let's stick with that for a second. And something you just said, you just spoke about family life. And if you've read any piece of Salesian High School literature, anything about the Salesians in general, there's a popular saying. It says that we are here to help students become good Christians and honest citizens. Okay, part of that is teaching these kids, helping these kids become good family men. Okay, so let's talk about that. I know personally your brother Matt graduated here. I had him as a student.
Yep.
But let's talk about your immediate family. I know you're a married guy. We got a couple kids. You got some kids. Let's hear about it. Talk about your family for a little bit, if you don't mind.
Yeah, no, been married for what's going to be 10 years in a couple of weeks to my wife Roxanne, and I have 3 boys. Derek, he'll be 8 next month. James, who'll be 4, and a 1-year-old Zach. So they keep us on our toes, and it's a rambunctious house, to say the least. And I do my best to, as every parent knows, there's always trying times, but you do your best to find that calm, to find that peace, and be that, take that fatherhood role very seriously, and be able to guide them along their journey as they become young men and grow up.
Well, I'm excited because 3 boys, 8 years old and under, to the admissions director means I got 3 recruits. So
You'll like this one too. So my oldest just asked if he could have his birthday party here at Salesian.
Okay, I don't know if you asked anybody, but I'll say yes. The answer is yes.
Unsolicited.
Let's do it. Tell him bring all his friends. I'll be there. I have literature for the kids too. So, you know what? As the father of 2 boys, trust me. You said one word, rambunctious. I only have 2 of them.
Yep.
Trust me. Rambunctious is one thing. Organized chaos, we like to refer to it as. That's great to hear. I love hearing about everybody's families, all the guests on the show. So let's talk about something else. Recently, just probably about 3-4 weeks ago, you and I had the chance to go out and play golf together. We went to Waikagill Country Club in support of another great Salesian supporter and Salesian Hall of Famer, John McCarthy. And by the way, if you can't tell, Steve's in very good shape. Okay? Much better than me. He hits a golf ball a country mile. Much further than me. It was still a fun round. But let's talk about, we're gonna roll that right into some of our own fundraising efforts. I know that you, before you mentioned that you stayed connected to Salesian High School by supporting our fundraising events. Now you have a much more involved role in those supporting events. So let's, if you don't mind, let's hear a little bit about the events that you get involved in Salesian High School's fundraising.
As board members, we have a responsibility to continue to grow the funds available to the school. So the President's Dinner that takes place in March or April, it's kind of been bounced around, obviously, with COVID. I think ultimately it's going to be in March going forward. That's our keystone event every year, which is great. The advancement team does an unbelievable job having it at Glen Arbor Harbor Club, on an annual basis, as well as the golf outing that we have coming up in a few weeks. It's usually held at Rye Golf Club, and will be this year. And it's always great seeing friends of Salesian. It's great seeing alums come back, and I think I'm hopeful that as we continue to get more people involved and coming back, that I'll start to see new faces. Mm-hmm. Don't be shy if you're an alum. Come on back, give me a call. There's people here at the school. And to that point, being this involved in the school now, it's been maybe 5 years or so since I've really been back and super involved. I've met alums, again, younger than me, older than me, that I consider some of my best friends now, that I didn't even go to school with necessarily. But there's this common bond, this common thread. And you might be in different professions too, completely different professions. And there's still a bond, I think, that forms over the school. Different teachers, different administrators. The campus maybe looked different at the time. It doesn't matter, because we had an event back in December, which was the first year we did it at Modern. We had alums come back that ranged from graduating class of 1961 to 2023, which was awesome to see. And the buzz and the energy in the room that night was palpable. So, I look forward to more of those events, as we continue to press on with this newly created Alumni Association.
Yeah, that's good. I'm glad you brought up the Alumni Association because I was at the event. I actually got there late that night. You're absolutely right. Over at Modern Restaurant in downtown New Rochelle.
Yep.
Great event. So good to see some of these guys. Some of the kids, I thought they were still in school because when you've been here this is my 19th school year. When you've been here this long, it's like you assume everyone's still here. Mm-hmm. I saw a kid. I said, "What are you doing here?" "You're still in school." He was like, "I graduated 5 years ago." Mm-hmm. So again, when you start to become as old as I am, things start to mesh together. But the Alumni Association, just getting off the ground a couple of years now, is a great opportunity for all you guys that graduated here, had a great experience here, to come back, to be a part of it. And it's not necessarily asking for all the money in the world, right? A lot of it is simply just stay involved in the school, stay involved in the life of the school, get to know some of the students that are here, and continue to give back. I'll bet so many of them still live local too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so guys didn't even have to come. I was talking to some guys like, "Oh, I took a job here. I went away to school, and now I live in the building right down the block." I said, "Oh, so there's no reason, to not be back. There's no reason to not continue to show your face and continue to be a part of the life of Salesian High School." Yep. So that's all I got, Steve. I mean, I had a great time. I thought you gave us some great insight into certain aspects that we haven't spoken about yet on the podcast. It's awesome to hear about your baseball experience. Awesome to hear how you became a Board of Trustee member. And, always great to hear about your family. So I know that we're going to continue to see each other. I look forward to it. I thank you for being on the show. And anything else you want to say before we go?
No, just to the alums, I would say, come on back. I think there's opportunities to get involved, as Steve mentioned, that, look, we ultimately, as a school community, as followers of Don Bosco, we have a responsibility. As Don Bosco said, you're one of our boys. You'll always be, and come on back. And there's opportunities, no matter what profession you've ultimately gone into, as a in your professional career. There are opportunities to come back and get involved with the Alumni Association, help plan an event, come back to a family mass. There's opportunities to serve on committees of the board for those that might have appropriate skill sets. Come to a golf outing. Just come see the campus. Come walk around. There's career day. There's a number of opportunities that, even if it's one time a year, I think there's plenty of opportunities to come back and see the transformation that we've had on campus. A lot of capital projects. Just come on back.
Before we go, I want to give a quick shout out to 3 special graduates of Salesian High School. I know we spoke just now about the golf outing. The 3 guys going into the golf outing this year from our baseball program, Mr. Chris Mata. I want to give a shout out to Chris. From our basketball program, another good friend of mine, I want to give a shout out to Mr. Ed Turkson. Ed's going into the Hall of Fame as well on September 16th. And a very good friend of mine, close to my family, Mr. Kevin Silverberg from our basketball program. So Kevin Silverberg, Ed Turkson, Chris Mata, congratulations to those 3 guys. Hope to see a bunch of you come out to the golf outing on September 16th to support those 3 guys. So until next time, Steve, that's all I got for this episode of Eagles on the Air. You've been a great guest. I appreciate you coming over and filming this with us. I hope to see you soon. And until next time, this has been Eagles on the Air.